Hello, Ashley.
We are recording. We are live. Now, hello, Amanda.
Hello. How are you, Ashley? It's so good
I'm
to
doing
see you.
well. Thank you. Thank you. All right. This is a little bit embarrassing. We started and we realized that we weren't recording, so we'll start over. Yeah, it's so awkward because it's like we've already been through all this.
Okay, look, remember I was in drama for a couple semesters. We'll just restart.
Okay. Improv. I'm not very good at improv, but all right. Okay, do you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello. Hello, all of Ashley's listeners. I am Amanda or Mandy, whatever you want to call me. Ashley and I have known each other since high school, Burbank High. Go
Burbank
Bulldogs.
High. Go Bulldogs. Yep.
That's where we met. And I think one of the main reasons I'm on this show today is I have a very interesting life with an interesting tortoise who we can start in on her in a minute, but basically what I do is I work for a law firm, and I really do like my job because I can't tell you who my clients are, but we have some really cool clients who happen to be some of my favorite recording artists. So personally, I work with two of my favorites, which is really cool, but I can't talk about that. But so that's cool. But I was telling Ashley before we realized we weren't recording, I met my husband right out of high school, met him at IKEA, and we got married a couple years later. And at that time, they opened up an IKEA in Tempe, Arizona, and we realized we could never afford a house in LA at our salaries. So we moved out here and fell in love with the desert. And Arizona IKEA has afforded us many opportunities to move around the country. I lived in Philly for 6 years, and while I didn't necessarily like living there because it's Philly, but it's got some great historical sites, and I loved to visit the historical sites. So that was pretty cool. And then we had the opportunity to move back to Arizona in a little tiny town called Coolidge, which is halfway between Phoenix and Tucson. And we produce like half the country's cotton, like something ridiculous like that. And it's just a tiny community where everybody just helps each other out. It's a real small town community feel, not like LA where like nobody gives a crap about you. So it was really, really nice to move back. We have a network of friends here. We both work from home. We moved my mother-in-law with us because she's elderly, and she brought her elderly tortoise with her. And that is what I'm doing here today.
Yes. So yeah, I personally love Philadelphia. Great town. I lived there, well, near there for Horsham. I don't know if you know where Horsham is, but yeah.
I lived in Norristown.
Okay. Yeah, they have a naval base up there. So after Burbank High, go Bulldogs. I went into the Navy. So yeah, so I got to taste Philadelphia. But yeah, I loved seeing because I've been following you on social media for a long time.
Yeah,
it's weird because I kind of feel like a stalker because we haven't really interacted all that much, you know.
Likes
so
here and there.
I'm just like, oh wow, look at this girl's interesting life, you know. And
I was saying
social media is so weird like that sometimes. But,
right, and it's so funny though because you never know who's actually like faking it and who actually has an interesting life. But you know, with me, everything is it's real.
Absolutely.
I'm real.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember a post of yours that you did where you like kind of did like a like kind of a mock-up of like yelling out of a window with like the face mask on or something, like kind of like an East Coast, you know, East Coast woman mock-up thing.
That's so funny because I don't even remember that.
I always remember that because I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
It was a total culture shock, I'll tell you. And I'm sure you
Oh
go,
yeah.
well, I don't know, because you spent a lot of your life in Louisiana. So I'm sure it was different moving to Philly. And just the attitudes are so different. Everybody's so like tough out there. And I was just like, okay, everyone's like more bitter and angry, I felt out there. crazy. At least that was my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a little bit, I guess.
But the food,
Yeah.
phenomenal. The
Oh,
historical
yeah.
sites, like seeing
Yeah.
the Liberty Bell for the first time or Independence Hall, it was so neat to go inside.
Mm.
Like you could just feel like the energy in there. It's great.
Yeah, Center City, Philly is pretty
Yes.
fabulous. Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
did you have a favorite thing back there? Or a favorite restaurant or anything?
No, not really. No, what was your favorite
You
restaurant
know,
or thing?
there's a place called the Continental, and
Content. Okay.
there's a couple of them. This one was Midtown. It's on, I think it's 16th and Chestnut, around that area.
Okay.
And it's like a 70s lounge inside. They've got like blue, like vinyl, like booths to sit at. And if you go up on the second level, they've got these like hanging wicker chairs, like a birdcage chair, I think is what they're
Mhm.
called. Like you swing in it. It's so awesome. It was just me
Okay.
and my friend Mallory. We used to go for brunch there once a month if we could. I'd take the subway and we'd meet there, and it was just fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Good
never really
vibes.
spent too much time in Philadelphia, honestly. I mean, I went to see
Mhm,
the like to Center City to see
mhm,
like the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall.
mhm.
And I mean, usually when I'd go down there, it was maybe to go to like Kelly Drive or something and just kind of
Right.
enjoy the
The
like
art museum.
rollerblading and yeah, the museum, of
Okay.
course,
Mhm.
yeah, where Rocky famously
The
ascended,
Rocky Steps.
yeah, the Rocky steps, yeah.
We
Um,
had a train station right by our house.
yeah,
So we would take the train downtown all the time because there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, there were things to do around town, but
yeah,
like, things were happening in Philly, or
oh yeah,
there's a lot of conventions down at the convention center. And that's something I've noticed. They had a lot of smaller little conventions, like $10 to get in. It was smaller, but they were like really intimate, and I really like that, as opposed to out here where you only get to go once or twice a year and you've got to pay $120 like to get into this huge hall, and it's crowded. And so it was really cool. We did really enjoy that.
is that Comic-Con or
Well, any
oh,
little convention like that,
oh,
but yeah, Comic-Con is out here. Well,
yeah,
Phoenix Comic-Con, we make a habit of going every year. We
okay,
used to go to San Diego back in the day when we lived in LA. And then it just got out of control. Like they started doing lotteries to get tickets for people because they were just selling out so quick. Celebrities, like I remember one year Paris Hilton showed up, and
oh
she had like nothing to do with um
yeah,
like pop culture at the time. Maybe that one show, like The Simple Life, might have been out.
yeah,
But we were like, "What the heck?" I think she even
yeah,
got booed because, like, the Comic-Con, at least back then, it was like that crowd was like, they didn't care about
yeah,
Paris Hilton. Like, they wanted
sure,
to see Leonard Nimoy and things like that. So, yeah, so we used to do San Diego. Even when we lived in Arizona, he would at least take a flight or drive home, in July to go see it. But it got out of control, ridiculous. So we started going to Phoenix, and Phoenix Comic Con has evolved from a little like library. They used to have a couple tables, people would
oh,
come in their costume. And now it's just at the convention center every year. It's gotten real big. It's a lot of fun. People come in costumes. They've got some great panels. So we make that our little mini staycation. We drive an hour north. We hang out. We get some pool time during the day, get some good restaurants. So it's fun.
that's great. What kinds of costumes do you usually bring up
So
there? Uh,
let me tell you how our costuming began. I first met my husband, and there was this little sci-fi convention back in the day held at the Shrine Auditorium in Pasadena. I don't even remember what it was. I think it was just like a literal comic book convention that they used to hold like once a month. And I remember going, "Hey, what are you doing this Sunday? Do you want to go out?" And he was like, "Nope." He's like, "I got a comic book convention to go to." And I'm like, "What?" Like, I was just like, "You turned me down for a date to go to Comic Con?" Like, I couldn't understand. And so someone got him started. I think, well, he made his own Star Trek costume like in high school, I think, for Halloween one year. He did a pretty good
mhm.
job. I should have had pictures prepared.
Yeah.
Um, and then so then he like had a Boba Fett costume he had been working on for a long time. And
Oh,
yeah, and then he had a stormtrooper costume. And he became part of this group called the 501st, which is really big now, but they weren't that big back in the day. And they really existed just to do charity events. Like they would go to the Children's Hospital in Orange County and things like that, and dress up for charity. And it was a lot of fun. And so he got me doing that with him. And then he was like, "Oh, by the way, we go to San Diego every year. Let's let's get a hotel room. We'll go down there." And so I started dressing up with him. The first night we spent the night together, I thought we were gonna get real intimate. He brings his Boba Fett costume.
Oh,
He's like, "I don't know how to braid. I need your help braiding." He had like,
oh
because
wow.
Boba
Yeah.
Fett has Wookiee scalps that are braided, so I had to stay up like braiding these damn Wookiee scalps.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, we did get intimate later, but I was not expecting that. So I should have known back then that's what I was getting married into.
Oh my God. That's great.
But he's got several costumes. If you don't mind, I'll keep going. For
Um,
sure, for sure.
yeah, yeah, I'd love to see those pictures, especially the
Yeah.
Boba Fett
Yeah,
costume.
he's been working on Boba Fett for, I mean, the last 20 years, just perfecting it. Actually, Jeremy Bulloch was the actor who played Boba Fett in the original Star Wars movies. And he got to know my husband because he knew that his costume was so like just like the movie one. And he used to call him Nearly Fett. And he would like every time he'd sign an autograph for him to the Nearly Fett. And I will never forget. I think it was Phoenix one year. We were in a crowded lobby and we were just trying to get an elevator to go upstairs. And out of nowhere, "David!" We turn around and there is Jeremy Bulloch with his wife. And he saw my husband out of costume and knew him and introduced his wife to us and shook our hands, sat there chatting for a little bit. So, like, it was really cool. And he's met Daniel Logan, the one who played him in the prequels, and he got to meet him and he was just playing with his like his blaster and everything. He was like 14. He thought it was the coolest thing. Like he had more fun with Dave, I think. So
Oh,
it was really cool. But he's done Boba Fett. He's been working on that. Like I said, it's been a work in progress for like 20 years. He's got a Mad Max one that he's done before,
oh,
Colonial Marine from the movie Aliens. He's got a couple GI Joe ones like Cobra Commander, Major Blood. Like he's got a lot. Off the top of my head, I don't know how many, but I'd say easily 10 or 15 that he's done over the years. He did Doctor Doom most recently. For those
okay.
of you who don't know, that's a Marvel villain. He's got
Okay.
like the
Yeah, I did know.
yeah, big green
Yeah.
cape, iron mask. So it's it's something he loves to do.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and just
Yes.
assume that he's a big fan of the show The Mandalorian.
Yes, we both are. As a
Okay.
matter of fact,
I haven't seen it yet. The last Star Wars thing I watched was Obi-Wan, which I thought was
that was good.
fantastic.
They just kind of tie into each other. Yeah, I've got a baby Yoda phone case or holder right now. It's like my phone's
Oh,
sitting in a baby Yoda.
all right.
I'm on my phone.
I
I
got
was
you.
gonna flip my camera, but I'm
Oh,
having. Oh, here we go. Hold. I'm just not very tech savvy.
that's okay. That's okay.
And you know what? It's oh, there you go. You
Oh,
can barely see it because it's a blurred background.
that looks
but you get it.
awesome.
You get the point.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love
Now you're
it.
gonna have to give me a second to flip it back.
Yeah, I love the Comic-Con, seeing
Yeah,
you go to
it's fun.
Comic-Con because I've never been to Comic-Con before, but it looks like so much
Yeah,
fun. I had no idea about Phoenix Comic-Con. I know
Yeah.
San Diego's like the big one.
Mhm.
There's a
Babylon 5 is one of his favorites.
oh
Do you
wow.
remember that one from back in the day?
Wait, which one? Wait,
Babylon 5.
Babylon
It
5?
was,
No. Uh-uh.
I think it was a not VW, BW, WB, Warner Brothers, maybe. I don't remember. It was one of those like, or Channel 13, something like that, like back in the day, like in the 90s. It's a sci-fi. It has Bruce Boxleitner. I can't remember who else is in it, but
Oh,
it's not bad. Chekhov is in there. I think in
okay.
the later seasons, like he used to make me watch it when we were dating, and I'm like, what is this? But then like it's grown on me. Same thing with Stargate. Did you ever get into the Stargate series?
No, no. I was
Okay.
gonna ask you actually which
Yeah.
Star Trek was his favorite.
You
Like which
know, I think you like the original the best,
Okay.
probably.
Okay.
Are you a big Star Trek fan, and which is your favorite?
Not big, but I think the original series, like the just because I've watched a little here, a little there
Mhm.
of the original and Next Generation. And between the two, I would say the original's probably the one that I impresses me the most. I think I just
It was
love
so groundbreaking at the time.
yeah, and the chemistry between Leonard Nimoy and um uh my yeah, help me out.
William Shatner.
Yes, thank you.
I
Thank
hear you.
yeah, yeah, it just
Usually I'm the one with the brain
yeah,
farts.
brain fart. Yeah, the chemistry between them is incredible. But go ahead.
Did you ever watch any of the movies, the Star Trek movies?
I did see the I don't remember which one it was, but I think the first one that came out, the first one that JJ Abrams made. I saw that one.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
talking
Benedict Cumberbatch was in it too. He played what the villain. That's and
oh,
I don't
girlfriend.
remember too much
I'm
else, but I remember liking it.
I'm talking about the ones that came out in the 80s.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay.
gonna take that as a no then.
No, no, I guess I didn't see. Yeah, I don't know. That
He
was
loves those.
that's what comes to mind with the Star Trek because I thought that
That's
one
so, I did like
pretty.
those though. Those were good ones.
Yeah,
The newer ones. I
yeah.
know I saw the first one for sure.
So which one in the 80s? What are we talking about here? Because I obviously I need to do some homework.
I think they made at least six of them.
Okay.
And
I,
I know for sure his favorite is The Wrath of Khan, which I think is number two. It's got Ricardo Montalban in it. I can't say that name.
okay.
But my favorite is Star Trek 4 because it had the whales in it.
Oh.
I think it came out around 1986. My parents took us to see it in the movies, and I just loved it. I fell in love with the whales. Maybe it came out a little later, but I thought it was awesome.
I don't know. I liked Star Wars as a kid in the
Mm,
80s, but
I do prefer Star Wars to Star Trek.
I never yeah, I don't know. Somehow Star Trek kind of flew under the radar for me back then, but I don't know why, but yeah. I think when I was at Burbank High, I when we were at Burbank High, I started to kind of become aware a little bit of Star Trek.
Hmm.
I think I remember Robert Lemoyne was into it, and I think
Yes, he was.
yeah, I think he really likes the next generation. That's right. Yeah, because he liked Data and Q and
Yes. Well, what I remember about him
yeah.
is he used to dress up as the X-Men, or at least he would do,
Oh,
can't
that's
think of the character's name, but he was the one
Wolverine.
who was from Louisiana, I think. Gambit. He was Gambit every year for Halloween. I love it.
I was gonna say Wolverine, but of course Gambit was the one that he liked. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Uh, okay.
That's a long time ago, though.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how it doesn't seem like that long ago, but when
Yeah,
you think about it, you're like, holy shit, that was 25 years ago.
no, it does. Yeah, I know. It's wild. And now Aurora, Ellie's daughter, is
She's our
about to
age.
graduate. Right,
I know.
next year she's gonna graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. She's a senior this year.
that's that's crazy. Wow.
And she shows me pictures of her, and she
Yeah.
just looks so much like Ellie when she was that age. And she even wore her prom dress one time. Oh, I don't know if you've seen that picture, like the same dress that Ellie wore to prom. It's like a little scallop dress. It was so pretty. And then
Yes,
Aurora wore that one year. I don't know when she wore it. Oh, it's
yes.
amazing.
Okay. Let's talk about the tortoise, Slowpoke.
Yes.
All right. Which
Thank you.
Slowpoke the desert tortoise.
Yes.
All right. Who Slowpoke is about 90, we think, between 60 and 90, somewhere
Yeah.
between 60 and 90. And this was she lives with you at your house
Hmm.
in a little enclosure called Turtle Ranch.
Yes.
Yeah,
That was all my husband.
the desert tortoise. And I usually when I think of tortoises, I think of them, kind of swimming, and so, but this tortoise lives in the desert, and
Yes.
although like take us back. So take us back to the beginning. You the in the 70s, it kind of wandered into the yard.
Look, the 70s were a wild time, okay?
Yeah, wild time. And yeah.
So I don't know the exact year, but my mother-in-law had, I believe it was a coworker whose father lived in, I think it was Hesperia down in the desert. And this tortoise wandered into his yard one day and he fed it and she never left. And so he just kind of kept it. So she started life out as a wild tortoise. And then he got ill. And my brother-in-law was allergic to anything with fur, cats, dogs, like hamsters. He couldn't have any of that. So someone suggested, hey, you should get a desert tortoise. Excuse me. So she put herself on a waiting list to get a tortoise. And meanwhile, this lady's father became ill and he couldn't take care of her anymore. So she said, Betty, why don't you take this tortoise? I know you've been waiting for one and she needs a home. So they took her. And this was before my husband was born. He was born in 1972. So we know she's older than 50. And I had read somewhere that desert tortoises, lay eggs between 40 and 60 years old. So she did lay eggs once in the 70s, like around 1976. So she was at least 40 then. So we think. But then I read conflicting information later on that they reached sexual maturity between the ages of 14 and 20. So she's anywhere between 60 to 90 is what we figure. So I say she's like 80.
Yeah.
I call her, because my mother-in-law is 80, so I just think she's a little old woman. My little old woman turtle, my little lady.
That's hilarious. Okay. So yeah, your mother-in-law inherited this tortoise.
Mhm.
She lived in Burbank, I'm assuming, and then
Correct.
moved
Yes.
in with you guys in
Yes.
Arizona. Okay, so she took obviously took Slowpoke. So how is Slowpoke? Does he like his new home?
First off,
Her,
it's a
sorry.
she.
She her. Okay.
Yes, those are her pronouns. Thank you very much. Well,
Sorry.
so what happened? It's okay.
I'm sorry for misgendering Slowpoke.
I know. Come on, get with the
All right.
times.
All right.
They brought her in a paper box, you know, the big boxes with the rings of paper.
Yeah.
Took her in, they traveled, put her in the back seat. They came from LA out to Arizona. It was 2 in the morning when they got here.
Mhm.
So we did put her in the bathtub that night because we were like, we don't know. Oh no, did we? I don't remember. I know we got some rinky dink reptile thing off of Amazon. And she lived her whole life, most of her life, in beautiful sunny Southern California. And she comes out here. It was June, July. It was like 117. And I went to check on her and she had heat stroke. The poor thing was like foaming at her mouth. And so the structure we had was not enough for her. So we had to move her into the bathtub until we could find a better alternative. And so my mother-in-law found a guy who, God bless him, he was the nicest man ever. He came and built this turtle ranch for her. And it's got, it's concrete, like it's graded on the outside at least. And it's got dirt and sand and grass and shade and a misting system. And she's got a doghouse. She's got a tarp to hang over her. There's native plants in there. It's probably 15 to 20 degrees cooler in there. She has currently this year to keep cool. She's digging herself a hole in the mud. So I call it her little mud hut. So many pictures you'll see on Instagram recently, she's got mud on her face or on her shell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she looks terrible, but she's keeping cool. So I just, I just let it slide.
Yeah. So Slowpoke really was Slowpoke, the valley tortoise. She was a total valley
Like, oh my
girl.
God, she talks like this all the time.
Yeah,
Totally.
now she's a
Yes, it's a
desert
desert tortoise.
tortoise. Okay,
She's
but
a true desert tortoise.
you've
Back
got
to her
this,
roots.
but you got this like amazing enclosure for her. She's like
Yes.
protected, she's walled off. The dog
She's
can't
living
get
her life
there,
because
right?
they want her so bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We always tease that they're going to have turtle soup one day.
Oh, oh no.
I would never actually do it. I'm
No,
just kidding.
I know. Tell us about your dog.
Teasing. So we had a little terrier named Danny Boy, who he passed away this past year, this back in January, but he wanted her in the worst way. He one day we came out there and he was pulling on the chain link fence, like just to, and he had like half the teeth in his mouth, literally
Oh,
half his teeth were missing. And I'm like, he's gonna pull out the rest of his teeth trying to get to her. So that's why, I mean, she's in there for her safety and protection, but it also creates a microclimate for her. But so he's passed, and now we're left with Cookie, she is a Beagle Spaniel mix.
yeah.
She's a lot more chill, a lot more laid back. She doesn't try to get to her, but she knows there's no dogs allowed in the tortoise enclosure. So she just stands outside the gate and looks in and
Oh,
looks sad.
okay. So
But I
she's
have a
really, she's down with it. She's okay with it.
she's down. She watches her. I have a feeling if we were to let her have her a roam of the yard, that they would learn to live with each other and be fine with it. But I still don't want to take that chance.
Yeah. Yeah. So Danny boy, did did he
Mhm.
did he pass away recently or?
Yeah, back in January. He had kidney failure, poor little guy. He
Uh,
was 13. He was my buddy.
13
Yeah,
years.
he was my little buddy, but he was something different, all right. I'll tell you. He was just I don't want to offend anybody, but if animals could have OCD, which I think they could,
Mhm.
he would definitely have it. He would be on the spectrum, because if he got an idea in his head, he couldn't let it go. And he just knew that he wanted that tortoise. And it's the same thing with someone who has OCD. If you have this urge, you got to shut off the light. You can't just turn it off once. You got to turn it off like 13 times, like you can't stop. It's like your brain's playing a loop. And it's
Absolutely.
the same. He was the same. Like his brain was on a loop. He knew he was obsessed with his ball. He wouldn't stop until he like passed out from exhaustion. So he was definitely our special little guy.
So you had Danny boy, rest his soul, and Cookie, she
Hmm.
you had them both in Philly and now in Arizona?
Yep.
Okay.
They were actually Arizona dogs originally, and then they moved to Philly with us, and then they came back. And it's like they knew when we moved back that this
Mm.
was their like home, and they just seemed so much happier here. I don't think they liked being cooped up in a little house, and we lived in a shady neighborhood, and our neighbors were shady, and I think they knew it.
Oh wow. That's
But out
funny.
here, it's
Yeah.
different. It's everyone's calm and cool, and yeah,
So Arizona's home for you.
it
But
is.
but
Okay.
Slowpoke has quite a fan base.
It does. Last time I checked, it was 143 followers. I think
Okay.
someone just followed her today. It might be 144.
Okay. Oh wow. So
So
that
I created her account because I work from home, and everyone that I work with works from home, but a lot of them are in the Boise area.
okay.
And they don't really have desert tortoises out in Boise, Idaho. So
Right.
they were kind of interested. They wanted to know more about her. My husband, his family, or his friends or coworkers who are in the Philly area, they were interested to know more about her. They're like, "Well, you've got a tortoise. Tell us about that." And so they were interested. And I thought, well, people are actually interested. I thought if I started an Instagram channel, they might actually, or a page, they might actually want to see her. And people started watching and following. And like I said, she only has 144 followers, I think. I mean, but hey, that's pretty cool. Most of them are other tortoise enthusiasts. But one of her videos one night had like 1,300 plays in like one night.
Oh wow.
I had to shut off the notifications on my phone. It was going crazy. It was
Oh
ridiculous.
wow. Slowpoke, Instagram
So,
star. What are her favorite things to do?
well, she loves to bask in the sun.
Okay.
She loves to just be cute.
Yeah.
But she eats. She loves to eat. And she got a big appetite for a little tortoise, but she eats watermelon. She eats lettuce, all types of lettuce. We feed her. Her diet is mostly romaine, but she'll eat lettuce and cucumbers, zucchini, whatever. Like if I make a salad and I don't like, I'll prep salads for the week. And
Mhm.
if I don't eat them all, and if there's something in there that, like, I mean, as long as she can have everything in there, I'll just dump salad out there for her. She'll eat it. She eats bugs, but her favorite treat is hibiscus flowers.
Oh,
So we actually have a hibiscus plant in her enclosure for her, so we can pick them off when they bloom and feed them to her, and she just loves it.
wow.
So yeah, that girl loves watermelon. Doesn't like strawberries, which disappoints me because I love them, but she won't eat them. We call it like we unpack our groceries,
Yeah.
and Dave's like drinks, food, soap, whatever, and he's like turtle food, and
Oh,
like hands me the turtle food.
oh yeah. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and she'll eat grass too. So if something like if we go away for the weekend, it's okay. They can actually go 365 days without food or water.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean they have to adapt to the desert, right? So if
right.
believe me, she gets fed every day.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
but if
sure,
something
sure.
happens, we
Yeah.
but if we go away for the week or weekend, I mean, or something like
Yeah.
that, it's not a big deal. She'll eat the grass. She's fine.
Okay.
And
Okay.
even when we do feed her, I catch her munching on the grass.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
she gets the munchies. I mean,
she does.
hanging out there in the sun, you know.
She
I don't
loves it. She loves the sun, or she'll find a good spot with the misters hitting right on her, and she just lays there.
I'm kind of fascinated by the idea that the enclosure is climate controlled. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
only because it's got shade and misters. I mean, we
yeah,
we don't do anything different. There's no electronics or anything in there, but that's enough to keep it cool in there. And in the mud, the misters hit the dirt and make it soft, so she can dig and make a little mud hut. It is kind of fascinating when you think about
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Her own little microclimate.
absolutely.
And she
That's,
hibernates in the winter as well.
she hibernates in the winter. Oh,
I did learn actually that hibernation is the term reserved for mammals. I've
oh,
learned that recently. So I forget the actual term for when a reptile goes into sleep for the winter, but we put her down usually around Thanksgiving. She goes in her little dog house, and we'll put blankets in there and we cover it with the tarp, and she usually comes out around Easter.
oh,
So there we go. Yeah, who knew? Brumation. There we go. She brumates.
rumination. Okay.
We
Like,
learned something today, kids.
yeah,
Just like hibernation, yeah.
yeah.
She goes into like a deep sleep, and she's just, I
Oh,
have to admit, like, I think she gets pissed off because I
oh,
go in there like sometimes because I want to make sure that she's alive because, I think she's 90. I don't know. And if she dies, my mother-in-law is gonna like, she's gonna lose her shit. I go in there, check on her, poke her feet, and make sure she's okay. And if she like goes, like she does, she'll make a little turtle squeal and she'll move her little feet in. So I'm like, okay, she's still alive. I'll check on her next week.
oh my gosh. Oh my
So
gosh.
she might not get a deep sleep because I'm always checking on her, but she's all right.